Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. So, Artur Beterbiev scores a fantastic 8th round stoppage over Anthony Yarde in a terrific fight. Real fantastic spectacle this was. Beterbiev, now 19 wins, no defeats, no draws, with 19 knockouts. And was this his toughest fight? It might just be, because Yarde, even though the fight went the way that I thought it would, Yarde gave a terrific account of himself. Again, it does beg the question, if he'd been brought along better and not made these quantum leaps to first fight Kovalev and now Beterbiev, if he'd cut his teeth at world level and had more experience in 10 and 12 rounders, would he have had more of a chance of beating Beterbiev? Well, possibly, but I don't know. I can't get past the fact that his career hasn't gone that way, that it has consisted of fighting very low-level guys or guys who aren't even really European level, and then, moving up and fighting two of the best light heavyweights of the last 15, 20 years. But let's not take anything away. He gave a great account of himself, probably performed better than I thought he would. Beterbiev, again, a tremendous technical fighter, a tremendous pressure fighter who puts enormous amounts of mental pressure on you, as well as having very heavy hands, ramrod jab. The moment the fight started, Beterbiev was hunting him down, stalking, firing the jab, looking to land big right hands. And Yarde, to his credit, first round, I thought Beterbiev won it, but not by much. You could probably give it to Yarde if you wanted to. Second round, I thought Beterbiev began to, it was more stalking. I suppose it went as you would expect it to. Yarde was busy, though. Yarde was letting his hands go. He wasn't defensive. He was on the back foot, certainly, but there was one moment, was it at the end of the first or the second, where, I think it was the end of the second, where Yarde was right in the last 10, 15 seconds, he got clocked and pushed to the ropes and clocked. And I thought, well, he doesn't need any more of that. But that was actually what happened in several of the rounds, several of the subsequent rounds, is that Beterbiev would finish the round so strongly and actually hurt Yarde. And certainly he did that in the third round, at the end of the third round. And in the fourth round, he really turned the heat up and started, he went after Yarde. Was that the fourth round or was that the fifth round? Whichever one it was, he was looking to start really grinding Yarde down. And Yarde, was facing, you wouldn't call it a crisis, but there was a big fat question being asked of him. And he came back, I think he was badly buzzed at the end of the fourth, and then in the fifth round, Beterbiev put it on him, but Yarde came back and started landing his own punches, and Beterbiev had used up a lot of energy, and of course at 38, and there's always question marks about him making the 175 limit. You could think, well, okay, Yarde's getting somewhere here. And then at the end of I think this was the fifth round, end of the fifth, Beterbiev again got Yarde in the corner and started beating him up and won the last 15, 20 seconds very, very convincingly. And so the heavier hands, Beterbiev was pushed back a few times. It wasn't like Yarde wasn't having some effect. But when Beterbiev landed, you could see, actually, it was a very visual thing that he was stinging and buzzing Yarde. But Yarde, you just can't make a mistake against Beterbiev, because Yarde was doing a lot of good work, and then suddenly he'd find himself on the ropes or in the corner, and Beterbiev would just let the punches go. And it was body, head, uppercuts. So well, well schooled Beterbiev. The way he stalks, he relies slightly on his chin, how good his chin is. Because when you're stalking someone, you're leaving yourself ultimately quite open. And he does come in quite square on Beterbiev. He controls the range well, because he stands outside he's right on the periphery, and then moves his feet, although his footwork is quite economical, it's very, very effective. He moves in quite quick and then bang, bang with the jab, and then lets if he hurts the guy, he lets everything go. Overhand right is another stinger of a punch. I think in the fifth round also, Yarde was cut underneath the right eye, but Beterbiev had a nick, nothing serious, over the left eye. So they were both getting clocked. And I really think that Yarde, surprisingly, after 6 rounds, didn't seem to be flagging. It wasn't like he, quote unquote, emptied the tank. He actually seemed to be, and he is a big light heavy himself, but his engine seemed to be okay. It was fine. And Beterbiev seemed to be the one who was taking a few deep breaths and maybe having little 10, 15, 20-second pockets where he was standing off and just reserving a bit of energy. But maybe that wasn't a case of his stamina flagging. Maybe he just wanted to preserve a bit of energy, conserve a bit of energy, because he knew that this was a 12-round fight and he's used to that. And Yarde isn't. Yarde had, was it 1 12-rounder against Lyndon Arthur, and that was it. Again, schooling, experience, it's absolutely vital. But the ending in the 8th round came out of the blue. And it wasn't a bad round for Yarde. Nothing was really happening. I mean, compared to the terrific previous rounds where they really were just knocking lumps out of each other. But in the 8th round, suddenly Yarde made a mistake. He hung his left too low. He moved into the wrong position, and he got clocked by a very short, compact right hand on the side of I think it was on the cheekbone, which pushed him sideways. He was buzzed badly, and then Beterbiev moved in, got those little feet moving, and then bang, up with another overhand right, which actually landed on the back of Yarde's head or neck and put him on all fours. And when he got up, he looked like he didn't know where he was. The referee had a look at him. He actually turned to his corner and he looked like I don't like saying this because perhaps this wasn't the case. Perhaps this was sort of visually misleading, but he looked like he wanted to quit or he didn't know where he was. And he turned and the referee spoke to him. He held his hands up, but it didn't look convincing. And in the moment Beterbiev was on him and landed a couple of punches, Tunde Ajayi was on the ring apron in the corner, waving the white flag, surrender. And a right decision by Tunde, because I think Yarde was so buzzed that he didn't really know where he was. And Beterbiev, we know what a killer he is when he gets a guy injured or hurt. He knows how to finish guys, and it could have been nasty. So Tunde Ajayi did the right thing, I think. So a real gallant performance by Yarde, a terrific fight, real terrific fight. And even if Yarde does finish his career without winning a world title, which he's got plenty of time, he's only 31, which is not particularly old. He knows he's been in with the best, and he knows he's given 2 of the best light heavies of the last 20 years. 2 guys who may end up in the Hall of Fame in Kovalev and Beterbiev. He knows that he's given him a hard night's work. But Beterbiev, terrific fighter. He actually, when the fight was stopped, when Tunde Ajayi jumped onto the ring apron, Beterbiev sunk to his knees, put his fists on the canvas. It was there was a sense of relief there. He knew he'd been in a very, very tough fight. Very tough fight. Arguably the toughest of his career. I think it probably was. I know he had that horrendous gash on his forehead against Marcus Brown, wasn't it? But Marcus Brown had his little moments, but I don't think he really hurt Beterbiev. Beterbiev had moments where he was feeling the weight of Yarde's punches, and Yarde can look back with, obviously he's going to be disappointed, but there's that he can have a bit of pride over this, because he took on the very best. He didn't try to, okay, he made a few quantum leaps into world level, perhaps got rankings he shouldn't have had, but he didn't shy away from fighting the best. I mean, he absolutely did fight the best, and he went to Russia on the first occasion. On this occasion, the Russian came over here. Different Russian, of course, but it was a great fight. Go and watch this. It was on BT Sport, not on pay-per-view, which was good to see. Yeah, terrific fight. Really, really enjoyed it. Go and have a look if you haven't seen it yet. Leave your comments below. I thought this was a really good fight. Go and have a look at it. Leave your comments below. I like reading your comments. If you're new to the channel and you could subscribe, that would be fantastic. That would help us out. Give the subscribe button a jab and then right across that like button. You know the drill. Thanks for your time as always. What a good fight that was. Go and have a look. And I'm eager to see what you think of it. And where does Beterbiev go from here? And what does Yarde do? Does Yarde regroup? Maybe drops down to European level and has another go at world level? I don't know. Let me know. Until then, we'll speak again soon. Bye for now.